Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Monsoon Live right here on YouTube. We're in the mat room, and my guest next to me is a local MMA fighter out of, it's Briarwood, right, Sam? Briarcliff. And this is Sam, and I'm always screwing up his last name, so I'm going to let him introduce yourself. Sam?
Yeah, Sam Oropeza, also known as Samuel when I fight.
Now, what weight division are you in the MMA world?
First half of my career was at 170 pounds, which is considered welterweight in MMA. And recently I moved up to a middleweight, which is 185 pounds.
Well, I know you have an impressive record, 13-3, seven submissions, and the rest were by knockout. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Yeah, happy to be here.
What got you into MMA?
So what got me into MMA? So I'll give you the serious answer and the funny answer. So growing up as a kid, I was 10 years old when my father passed away. So growing up without my father in my life, it definitely it put a certain type of drive in me, I'd say. You would grow up and you'd see other kids with their dads, with living the life that you wanted, and really what it did for me was it put a lot of emotions into me. And as a young kid, without having my father there to kind of guide me through it, usually like a wild emotion can turn into anger, or you need a physical outlet. So what happened was my sister, who's older than me by a significant number, I'm not going to say it, she doesn't look like she's that much older than me, she helped me by going to the Upper Darby boxing gym as a kid, and definitely changed my life. I'll never forget the first day I walked in there, and taking the kickboxing class, and I knew at that very moment that this is what I'd want to do for the rest of my life. Definitely growing up too, to kind of hit you with the funny answer, I loved Jean-Claude Van Damme, I loved the Ninja Turtles, so why not? Why not when I reached adulthood and I still wanted to be a Ninja Turtle, why would I not pursue something along those lines? And I have probably one of the worst cases of ADD, so being in the fact that you can fight and you can kick, you can punch, you can wrestle, you're not kind of put into one category, definitely kept my excitement going over the years of training. So knowing that you could do so many different things and be involved in one sport definitely helped my ADD focus into MMA.
Cool. Tell us a little about your career, like the promotions you've worked or the fights you've gone through.
Yeah, so I fought a lot on the regional circuits. I also fought in some of the bigger name circuits, such as Strikeforce. I was fortunate enough to share the cage with Fedor, who was one of my heroes in MMA, when he fought in New Jersey back in 2011. I have fought for King of the Cage, which is a smaller promotion, but it always had airtime, so I got to fight on live TV. That was my first live TV fight. And then for what I was really known for was my time in Bellator. I had 5 fights in Bellator. I had a record of 4-1. Got to fight on Spike TV. Got my story told on Spike TV. So as far as like the regional promotions go, a lot of the regional promotions I fought in were always in New Jersey. To name a couple, Cage Fury, New Breed Fighters. So I got to see a lot. I definitely got to travel a lot. Fought on the West Coast, fought on here on the East Coast. So definitely got to see a lot, got to go to a lot of different places as far as my career goes.
Okay. Now, I train as a boxer, and a lot of our folks have seen some of the stuff I've done and all the boxers that we've had on here. What is your training like compared to a boxing training that folks have seen?
So, okay, to kind of break this down so everyone understands it in kind of the best way possible. Boxing and MMA are two combat sports. It takes a special type of person to do either sport. As far as boxing is concerned, you are only punching someone. With MMA, you have to add in wrestling, and you don't have to add it in, but you are allowed to wrestle, you're allowed to kick, you're allowed to fight on the ground, you're allowed to throw submissions in there. So imagine having your boxing sessions. And they're intense and they're hard, and they're definitely probably one of the most intense workouts you get out throughout a day. Now, imagine doing that on Monday, and then Tuesday would be the same exact intensity, the same exact amount of pressure you're putting on yourself, but doing it with wrestling. And then Wednesday would be jiu-jitsu, and then Thursday would be Muay Thai, which is kickboxing with knees and elbows, and then kind of blending it all together a couple times a week as well. So, and then you also have to find a time to do your strength and conditioning. You know, you got to run, you got to make sure your body is conditioned to fight for 15 minutes. So a boxing round is 3 minutes, the MMA round is 5 minutes, both very difficult. I'd say more MMA is geared up for a sprint as opposed to boxing would be like more like a longer run, like training more for a marathon as opposed to training for a sprint. So there's definitely a different a format to it, but I can tell you this, some of the hardest workouts I've ever got was in a boxing gym, you know, especially boxing sparring. Getting hit by some of the Philly boxers really made me wish I could take them down to the ground or kick them after getting punched a certain way. But it's very similar, but at the same time, very different, you know, like comparing apples and oranges.
Okay. Now, I know we have a lot of folks out there who are new to the MMA world. Could you maybe explain some of the rules or scoring or teaching some of the techniques? When we got a Matt here, would you be up for showing our audience? I guess I'll be the guinea pig on that.
As long as you promise not to beat me up, I have no problem going over some stuff.
I'm the host. Don't worry. I don't. You'll probably kick my butt no matter what. So don't worry.
All right, that sounds like fun.
All right, folks. Sam's going to show us some of the stuff that you guys have always asked, like the scoring techniques and some of the holds. Sam, take it away, man.
Okay, so as far as the scoring goes, before we get into any techniques, you have to look at the judges. So when it comes to mixed martial arts, a lot of the judges come from either a wrestling background or a boxing background. So as the scoring goes, obviously the person who is more aggressive, who can control the fight with takedowns, with striking, and with ring generalship, basically owning the cage, which is different than fighting in a ring. When you're fighting in a cage, a little bit more difficult to cut off, but still you can use the cage as a way to take someone down or to hold them up against and, dirty box if you're familiar with that, stuff you're not allowed to do in boxing. But it really is up to the judge's discretion. So for me, all 13 of my wins have been by finishes. So I never really wanted to allow anyone else to decide whether I won the fight or I did enough. So that's why it was always so important to me to finish the fight. And I think for most fighters, if you want to get out there, if you want to get recognized, you got to finish fights. Nobody, as much as people love boxing or any type of fight, if you are not finishing the fight or working your hardest to finish the fight, you're not really going to get the fan support. So I think that really helped me out a lot with just having that desire to always want to win the fight on my terms. So as far as scoring goes, that's one way to look at it. Obviously, the guy who is in the dominant position for the majority of the fight is going to win the fight. So as far as techniques go, mixed martial arts starts from standing. So Jeff, you're a boxer, so you can get into your boxing stance. And this is a great stance to be in. Now for mixed martial arts, it's a little bit more difficult. Why? Because you can kick people. So boxers, they like to turn sideways a lot, which is very important and a smart thing to do. I do it all the time when I box. Mm-hmm. With mixed martial arts, so if I were to get my MMA stance, it's a little bit more of a square stance. The reason why is because you can wrestle and you can kick. So the problem with this stance right here, if it was for MMA, would be obviously I can kick you and I'm not going to kick you hard just to demonstrate the technique. It would be stepping out and kicking right at the leg right there. A lot of people ask me all the time, what hurts the most out of any technique? When you get kicked in the leg, right above the knee, right here, there is a bundle of nerves that just sits there, and it's one of the worst feelings you will ever feel. I kid you not. People are like, what's it like getting elbowed, kneed, kicked? It doesn't tickle, but getting kicked in that spot in the leg has been one of the worst feelings I've ever felt when it came to fighting. So to kind of describe like the technique and the stance to you, it's a little bit more of a square stance. My hands are up as if I'm in a boxing match as well. I want to fight with my hands low. To kind of show you the differences. We can actually, we can wrestle, we can do different types of techniques as well. So let's just say Jeff is being very aggressive with his boxing. He's backing me up with his jab, and I don't like where this is going. Obviously, I'm going to wind up on the cage. So as Jeff comes into me, I'm going to drop down to a leg right here, okay? And what I'm doing is going for a takedown. So I'm just going to do a basic single leg takedown, okay? The reason why I put my head on the outside is because if I put my head this way in an MMA fight, there could be a right kick right there, or there could be a right uppercut, which I could bend down to and uppercuts are not a fun punch to get hit by. So let's just start this over. Jeff's throwing his jab at me, and I'm backing up. I'm dropping down, right? So when I swing in, I want to put my shoulder right into his hip right here. I'm going to go right behind Jeff's leg, and this technique is called running the pipe. So I grab the leg, and all I'm going to do is lift the leg up without Jeff falling over right now. I'm going to step my right leg back and drop my left hip. So just be ready to go down. Good. Right down to the mat, okay? From here, obviously this is somewhere where Jeff's not familiar with. Boxing is done on your feet. So the way I explain it is a boxer is the lion. He's the king of the jungle, right? Now imagine if you took that lion, you dropped him in the ocean, and now he's swimming with sharks, because when you hit the ground, it's like you're in the ocean right now. So I have a couple different options, okay? I took Jeff down with that single leg. I could pass, put my knee into his belly, and, you know, start raining down punches, elbows. Another option you have is a submission. This is, for me, this is one of the most exciting things I've ever learned, was learning how to submit. Make someone submit. By pain, by joint manipulation, it's a very, it's an art form to me. It's exciting. So anyone out there who's ever interested in submission grappling, I highly recommend it. So let's just say I take Jeff down right here, okay? Still holding on to his leg. Now what I could do is I could drop down to an ankle lock. I could slide over to different styles of leg locks, but I'll just go over a very basic leg lock. So what I'm gonna do, act like I'm gonna, you know, kind of move into Jeff's space. I'm gonna slide my arm right behind his Achilles, okay? I'm gonna pinch my knees together and sit back. From this position, okay, I can turn to my side here, and all I'm gonna do, Jeff, when you just feel like that uncomfortable amount of pressure, just tap right there. So what I was doing was, I'm taking Jeff's foot, taking my arm right here, and you kind of see where my shoulder is right there, okay? I'm stabilizing his leg so it can't move, and then I'm putting that amount of pressure onto his leg, making it very uncomfortable. It's a pain technique, okay? So that's one way, but let's go over another technique that could be just as exciting. So right here, I take Jeff down to the mat, okay? I look to pass, we call that the guard. If I was inside Jeff's space right here, where he can kind of see me, control me, I would be inside his guard, but if I step around, I'm outside his guard. I'm in side control from here, okay? So from side control here, I want to be heavy. I want to be able to control Jeff. One way we do that is by dropping our shoulder right into his face. So one way Jeff could get out is turning onto his right side. So turn to your right side, coming this way. Yeah, so he can start moving, he can start working his way up, start getting to my leg. But if I make Jeff's face turn the other way, wherever his head goes, his body will go. So if Jeff, try to turn into me a little bit, it's a lot more difficult. Okay, so another technique we have here is an arm lock. Anyone who's ever seen Ronda Rousey, she was the best at it. She could arm bar anybody. So I'll go over a basic arm bar with you guys. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come right underneath Jeff's arm. You wanna give the person the illusion that they can get out. So what I start doing here, it's almost like I'm pulling Jeff out. So what does he wanna do? He wants to come towards me. Yeah, as he starts to come towards me, I'm gonna step, put my shin right up against his back, and I'm just gonna pivot right here, sit back, and from here, see, I pinch my knees, I put his hand in a position where he's giving thumbs up, put his hand into my chest, and as I do that, I'm just gonna push my hips up ever so gently, and it is a joint manipulation where you're taking the elbow and trying to make the arm bend in a position that it doesn't bend in. So showed you a foot lock, showed you an arm bar. Let's go to a choke, okay? So now I showed you where it looked like I had the upper hand, okay? What happens when I get put on my back, okay? So let's say me and Jeff are fighting, okay? And Jeff's a boxer, I'm sure he punches really hard. And let's say Jeff throws that dynamite right hand he's got, and he hits me right here, okay? And let's just say I'm still conscious, which I probably won't be if I let Jeff punch me. So I get hit, I fall to the ground, Jeff follows me to the ground. A lot of times you see this position, yeah, he's down here, and right now Jeff's gonna start punching me. I have to kind of get my wits about me and start defending, okay? This is one of my favorite techniques. It's called a triangle choke, okay? This choke is done with your legs, okay, as opposed to a rear naked choke, which is done with your arms, okay? So it's like Jeff's trying to punch me, I'm trying to defend myself, okay? What I'm looking to do here is to get my legs above one of his arms. So one, it doesn't matter what side, either side. For the sake of the camera, I'll use my left leg so you can see what I'm talking about. So if I can control Jeff's wrist here, see how I'm trying to make it harder for him to punch me? Yeah, so now I'm gonna put one of his legs on the inside, okay? And this is just for the sake of the drill. It's not gonna be that easy in a fight. And Jeff's being really nice to me too. So as I do that, I'm gonna slide my right leg through. I'm gonna jump my hips up and I'm gonna figure four my legs, okay? Most important part of this technique is getting the arm across Jeff's chin right here, okay? So his shoulder on the other side is cutting off his carotid artery while my leg on the side of the camera right here is cutting off the other carotid artery. So it's a blood choke, not an air choke, but a blood choke. Now I'm gonna figure four my legs. When Jeff kind of feels like the lights are getting dim, he's gonna start tapping. I'm gonna put my hands right on his head. I'm gonna pinch my knees together. I'm gonna arch my hips into him. There we go. And that's a triangle choke. So, why don't we bring this back up to the feet? I'll show you just a couple more techniques that are different than most boxers would see, which would be elbows and knees and a couple of kicks. So, starting from standing here, okay? I like to combine a lot of boxing into my mixed martial arts, okay? And I like to just use certain setups and then throw in maybe like a meaner technique such as an elbow, okay? So one thing I like to do is if Jeff is kind of chasing me down with that jab, you kind of parry, parry, parry with your right hand, okay? I try to get his timing down, okay? Now, instead of smacking the hand down, how most parries would be, I start to cup his wrist. And when you're wearing MMA gloves, the fingers are cut off, so you can use your hands to grab. So, I'm getting the tie down. I'm gonna grab his wrist, okay? I'm gonna pull his wrist into me, and as I pull, I'm gonna lead with that elbow right there. Majority elbows, they do not knock you out. They cut you. So if a cut is bad enough in a fight, the ref will stop the fight and you win. For me, I've never been in a fight where the cut was so bad that the ref had to stop the fight. There's been cuts, but never that bad. So to show you that one more time, Jeff throws his jab, I'm getting the time down, third one, I'm gonna grab, pull him into me. As I pull, look how I'm leading with that elbow and trying to slice right down with it, okay? There's one. What happens when we get a little too close, okay? Let's say Jeff is starting to back me up into the fence. He's throwing his punches, right? And I'm trying to defend myself. This is called a Muay Thai clinch, okay? I'm gonna take my hands and I'm gonna reach right for the back of Jeff's head, right at the crown where the back of the head starts to rise up a little bit, okay? So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna clinch up. I'm gonna go hand over hand here. And I'm gonna pinch my elbows in tight to me, okay? So now Jeff's starting to punch, like he's gonna have a little bit harder of a time. What I wanna do here is I wanna push away. And as I push away, I'm loading up my back leg. I'm gonna pull Jeff back in, okay? So I push away, and as I pull Jeff back in, boom, there's the knee, okay? Worst place to get kneed is the face. So as I push away, I'm gonna pull that knee up as high as it can go and try to knee him in the face. There's been a couple of my fights where I was the one who was fortunate enough to knee the guy in the head. It's kind of hard to recover after you get one of those knees to the head. Last thing I will show is my favorite technique. There's been a fight, kind of got me a little bit more recognition, was a knockout that involved a head kick. So I kind of like to explain that to you, okay? So in boxing, you get to throw that big punch, right? For Jeff, maybe it's his right hand. He gets to throw that big right hand, right? In MMA, I get to do the same thing. I can throw my big left hand, my big right hand, okay? But sometimes I mess with those. What I kind of have a little bit more accuracy with is with my leg. I don't know how that happened. It's just I liked being able to kick people. So when you hurt someone with a kick, you kind of like throwing it a little bit more. So what happens if I miss my punch, okay? Let's say if I don't have my range down and Jeff's just a little bit outside of my range right there. He does that little lean back where most boxers, they like to slip, okay? Yeah, maybe he slips right out, okay? So as I go to throw that punch, he's right out of the way and I'm gonna bring that leg right behind it. Boom, big head kick, okay? The idea behind throwing that head kick is you want to step out with that front leg and like you're a corkscrew, pivoting it into the ground and swinging that leg like a baseball bat, okay? You want to pick it up and then turn it right over. So to kind of show it one more time, maybe Jeff's a little bit too far away. I can't hit him. Takes that step back, and it's like, oh, how am I going to get close enough to him? In a boxing match, unless you're Stretch Armstrong, you're not hitting anybody. But in MMA, you still have another weapon, which is much longer than your arm. So right there, Jeff does that little pull. He leans back, and then boom, that head kick could come right behind. And if you're on the receiving end of one of those, it's not fun to recover from in the middle of a fight when you got to shake those cobwebs out. So as far as MMA goes, that's just a little sample. There's so much more that goes into it. Just wanted to show you kind of what it's like in my world, just a little bit. The techniques I showed were very basic with the setup. There's other advanced techniques that you can get into. But just like boxing, I'm sure Jeff could tell you, being a beginner in it, you want to work on the basics. So could I do a Superman punch and jump and fly and try to do a jumping kick? Yeah, you can do all that type of stuff. But I'd start with the basics, start small, and work your way up.
Now, Sam, thank you for showing all our folks over there that. Is there any upcoming fight that the folks can look forward to seeing in action?
As of right now, there's nothing on the immediate or near-term horizon, but that's not to say that something can't pop up. For me, I have a family, so, kind of those two worlds kind of meet each other, and it's, the family obviously takes priority, but I'm the type of person who never says never. So hopefully in the near future I can have something for you. Maybe we can promote it and get some more training here.
Definitely.
In the pit.
Yeah, this is becoming the place to be. Well, Sam, thank you for joining us. And folks, we'll let you know when his next fight is. And who knows, he's going to be back here on our show. But as always, guys, thanks. And you guys have a great weekend as always. Later days.